Oh, I just clicked on chat. This is my first time chatting, so sorry.
No,
I don't see anything about enabling it. Kurt, have you worked with the chat before? Or?
Yeah, Larry, I fear that maybe it was disabled at the time the meeting was set up and you might not be able to enable it. The only thing I can think of is if you want to unmute everybody.
Well, I said I just had one of Corey Wilson just raised his hand. There's a way that the participants can raise your hand, and I'm going to unmute Corey Wilson.
No, I didn't have a question. I was trying to see if I could get into the chat and had the same issues. It's disabled on my end as well. Sorry.
But there's a way to raise your hand. I think if you click on something, you can raise your hand and I can see that, and I'll unmute you.
Larry, I think I saw someone by the name of Mary Rose had a hand symbol up. I don't know if that individual wants to.
Okay. Okay, Mary Rose is unmuted. Mary, are you there? I'm unmuting her, but her phone's still on mute.
Oh, we lost her.
Oh, she must have. Well, she was on via a cell phone connection, I think, is what it told me. Well, I don't see anybody else raising their hands or offering comments, so I guess we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Yep.
Randy seconded that?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to close the public hearing passes. Okay, we're going to start the regular town board meeting. If we could say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Kathy, you want to lead us in prayer?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we pray thee to grant wisdom to all who are in authority, that order and justice may be upheld to the benefit of all citizens, and guide us to better serve the people of our community. Restrain those who seek to destroy our government. We ask your divine wisdom to rest upon our leaders to guide them and protect them. Amen.
If we could have a moment of silence, one of our former town historians, Walt Bissett, if you remember, he was town historian under Bob Cliff when he was supervisor. If we could have a moment of silence for Walt Bissett. Amen. Okay, do we have any public input? But we're not, Matt?
Yeah,
public
Larry,
input for the board meeting, do we have any?
We have been, and it's not required under the public officers law, so we have been waiving that as policy during the course of these Zoom meetings. part of what the supervisor has said. If there is any public comment in general, you can direct it to his office or my office or the appropriate town official in between meetings, and the appropriate town official will get back to you in the meantime. But otherwise, public comment, due to the limitations of this Zoom, have been suspended.
Thank you. For the record, all board members are present except for Supervisor McSwan. He's homesick, so he won't be joining us tonight. We can have the approval of the December 21st, 2020 minutes.
So move.
So moved.
Second.
First and second by Kurt and Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve the reorganizational minutes of January 4th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
First motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have a bill pay. If you haven't had an opportunity to sign the abstracts, they're in the mail room. We could have a motion to approve vouchers 2020 2342 through 2020 2485. In an amount of $1,885,000. $721,095. We have a motion to approve those.
Hey, Larry, question on that. Have all the fire companies given their report that we always ask for? Do you know, I know that's a big chunk of the amount. I know Rich is on, they're usually good. There was usually one that was lacking.
I'm not sure. I know that there was some Matt Brooks probably knows the status of some of those.
Debbie is holding all the checks until they're received.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, can you hear me? That's correct. I think the checks were issued to be cut and prepared, but they're not going to be issued to the particular fire company until we receive the documentation required. So they are going to be prepared, but they're going to be held on to.
With that, I make the motion.
Okay. And I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of the bill pay passes. Departments, Paul Sigmund, I don't see him on yet. Water sewer, Rich Donner.
Yeah, guys, couple things tonight. Year-end work orders for year 2020. Water sewer department did 1,126 work orders. That doesn't include any of the hydrant maintenance or the grinder tank maintenance for the year. So my guys are always busy. There's usually something going all the time. Little update, the truck we were buying from St. Johnsburg, were having an issue getting the title for the vehicle. That's in the process now, so we should be able to get it in service within the next month in the town and have it doing some work for us. Then we can in turn get rid of a couple vehicles from the water sewer department. Also in tonight's motions, there is a motion to purchase a vehicle. That's going to be replacing my deputy's truck, which in turn his truck will get handed down. And we're going to start getting rid of some vehicles that are in the age of the 1990s. So we're hoping to upgrade the fleet again.
Getting rid of them like through Auctions International?
Yeah, as soon as I figure out exactly which ones we're going to be asking to dispose of, we'll be definitely putting them on Auctions International with the board's approval.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Rich? Recreation, Mike Rinaldi?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. First thing, we are going to start baseball, softball registrations starting on Monday, February 1st. We're going to run that through March 26th. And we're going to hope to have, a safe season. The board kind of gave me their blessing to go ahead and begin these registrations. So we're excited. I'm eager to get going. We've we've been getting a lot of phone calls, emails from the residents, and they're ready to go too. So we can't wait to get started. Second thing, I know it's January, but we did start file paperwork for fireworks in 4th of July. It's a long process. It goes to the state, the county, all the fire departments, all the local hospitals. There's a lot of people that are involved in order for them to make it happen. So we don't want to get caught at the last minute in doing it. We don't know if we're going to be able to host it at Oppenheimer or not yet, but we have to get the process started in order for it to happen. We're off and running with that too. And that's about it so far.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike. Building Inspector, Mike Clark.
Good evening, everyone. We got some good news this past week. The wide format scanner arrived in the building on Friday, and Kelly, the assessor, and Franny will be training the first group to do that on Wednesday. So we're getting close to getting ready to start archiving a lot of building plans. So the first step is done, is here, and now we're going to get it up and running this week.
Yeah, we're going to have to set up some new file folders on the network probably to store those. So you're going to have to work closely with Links Technology to get all your permissions and everything.
Yeah, in fact, that was one of the questions that they'd asked us Friday, was that can we coordinate directly with Links, or can they do it? So we're going to contact, I don't know if Nick's going to be available for there, or through another method to get them hooked up together.
And you may have to have Joe Malloy connect in a new network cable if there isn't one there already.
Yeah, I think, well, Don had cables down there in the area that we're working, but you're right, we're not sure if what's currently needed is there. And so Joe's kind of on standby in case we need him when our rep is here.
Okay.
Yep. And that's about it.
Anybody have anything for Mike?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Assessor, Kelly?
I really don't have anything this month. I just want to put out there again that the governor signed an executive order, then made it a law that anybody that received the aged exemption or enhanced star or the disability with limited income, they were carried over this year, so they do not have to reapply. We get lots of phone calls. So I've just been, reassuring people that they're all set. They don't have to come into the town hall and everything. But other than that, there's nothing else to report right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody have anything for Kelly? Thank you, Kelly. Constables, I don't see her on. Wendell, Tim Zuber.
Hi, everybody. We do have a little bit on our agenda this evening for you, so I'll try to go quick. Our first item, everybody hear me all right, right?
Yes.
Cool. Our first item is our planning board report. This will be for the month of January. The first meeting was on January 6th, and there were two items on the agenda. The first one was a special use permit by Dale Brosius. The applicant proposes to provide commercial outdoor storage at an automotive repair business at 2928 Niagara Falls Boulevard. The property is zoned commercial and is in the Niagara Falls Boulevard Overlay District. The commercial zoning allows commercial storage with a special use permit, but the overlay district does not allow commercial storage. The planning board agreed that they were not in favor of waiving requirements of the overlay district, as the purpose of the overlay district is to help beautify the main route of transit through the town. Planning board subsequently denied the special use permit. The next item was a sketch plan for Shawnee Estates. You've heard this one several times. The applicant is proposing to develop 2 parcels on Shawnee Road. Several different ideas have been presented to the planning board for this location over the past few years at a very conceptual level. The most recent concept has provided 2 entrances, removed T turnarounds, removed apartment buildings, and provides single-family residential homes, patio homes, and mixed use along Shawnee Road. There are many questions on the details of the project, but the planning board agreed that the concept was headed in the right direction of a PUD development, if such development of this location is desired by the town. The planning board recommended that the project formally apply to the town board for rezoning to PUD. If the town board is in favor of this development, referral back to the planning board would initiate the rezoning/PUD process. No other action was taken. That was the first meeting. The second meeting was on January 20th, but it was canceled because there were no agenda items. So that is our summary. Are there any questions on those? Okay. So I'll move on. The next item on our agenda is the motion we've included in our packet. It's for our 2021 engineering contract. We passed that along to Matt and the supervisor several weeks ago, just so they can check out the language on it. So we do have a proposal in our package to act on that. The next two items on the agenda are also proposals. The first one is for our 2021 GIS services. And that one is unique because this time we have to update our GIS data collection method. And it's a perfect time to migrate to this new ArcGIS online format. And the really cool thing about this is that it'll result in basically a publicly available and accessible web map application. So now no longer is it just going to be limited to the town departments with username and password. It'll just be like other communities. You can go online. We'll have a link that we can put on the town's homepage that'll send you right to the main page, and people can get on and look at whatever data we want to host on there from our existing site: wetlands, floodplains, aerial imagery, parcel lines, the works. So that is our first proposal. The second proposal is for our annual 2021 MS4 program assistance. This is what we do every year. It's helping the building department, helping Lou Anastasi with questions that he may have on working through the MS4 program through the year, doing the annual report. It's in the spring of each year. So we have motions in there for those proposals. Are there any questions on any of those that I may be able to answer for anybody?
I have a question. Tim, refresh us on the MS4, what it stands for, what it does.
So MS4 stands for, it's an M and 4 S's, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So what that is it's something that was more or less decreed by the DEC based on population. They've got areas that are, I don't know what the exact threshold is, but it's an area that once you exceed that threshold, they call you your own municipal separate storm sewer system. And what that requires us to do is 6 really different minimum components that we have to do. Some are based on public education and outreach and things doing in the community. Like we usually get credit for our annual Boy Scout cleanup along Liberty Drive for that. But the part of it that we deal with most often is when we're looking at site plans and subdivisions and projects like that. In areas not in the MS4, people fill out the paperwork and their SWIPs and their notices of intent, and they submit them directly to the DEC. The DEC has to review and accept those. When you're in an MS4, basically it's an unfunded mandate. The DEC says, now town, you're responsible for reviewing those and making sure that they meet the code. So that is one of the steps that we take when we do our site plan reviews for the planning board. And when we do subdivisions, we make sure we review those, that they have all the required components and that they're providing what we're supposed to provide based on the state's requirements. The other big portion that we deal with is the post-construction controls and inspection. So that's a lot of what Lou does during construction seasons. He goes out once a month usually and checks all the construction sites, make sure that they're doing their required inspections, make sure that they're addressing any deficiencies that their weekly inspectors provide on those forms.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So those were our second 2 proposals. The 5th item on our agenda we have on here is the FEMA mapping and local law seeker coordinator review. You might have heard about this, but we are required to update our local law based on the revised floodplain mapping that was done. It was really along the Great Lakes and along the river. So it doesn't affect anywhere else in the town. with the exception, I will have to say, of the Bergholz area. If you remember when we approved the last floodplain mapping, we did a big loamer in there that got a lot of people out of the floodplain and lowered that. That is all staying the same. They're just incorporating that into the regular maps. You know, right now, if you wanted to go and check where you were in that location, you would have to know your location, go look up the loamer file, and then see what it says in there. This is just making it all part of the maps finally. So as a part of that, basically, we have to adopt this new model local law, which Mike Clock and I have been through already. It's very similar to our existing local law. They just added a couple extra definitions and added some more language about these coastal zones. And we really don't have any in the town of Wheatfield, but they're getting everybody to use the same coastal zone definition. So everybody's on the same page with those. So it's, obviously, as part of a local law, we have to do seeker. And since this is as big as it is along the river, it's a coordinated review. So this motion is just authorizing us to start the coordinated review under seeker once the supervisor and once Matt Brooks is okay with their draft local law. So are there any questions on that one? Actually,
how long does that process take? Is it like a couple of weeks, couple of months?
Well,
what are you estimating?
They actually have given us a time frame by which they say we have to be done with this by. So I'm not sure if I have the exact dates in front of me. I can't remember them off the top of my head. But I want to say, you know, there's the time that the town has to have this law adopted by, so that then the notifications to the Department of State and all that are made. I want to say, Larry, that it's by April 4th.
Okay.
That we have to get through this, and we're trying to get through it sooner rather than later, so we don't.
So we have a couple of months. We have about 2 months.
Right, but you know, for a coordinated review under seeker, we usually want to give that 30 days.
Okay.
And the town is probably going to need to schedule a public hearing for that. So again, we're just trying to get the ball rolling early here.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Do you have more, Tim? Or
well, we just had one last item on here, and find it in my packet of stuff here. We a few weeks ago received PIP applications for the last phase in the Eagle Chase subdivision, their phase 3. So we've gone through the drawings, and actually Mr. Walk was helpful enough to participate in that with his historical knowledge of that drainage up there. So we've gone through, and we have a recommendation to approve their PIP applications. They're only looking to get started on water and sanitary sewer right now. And part of that is because we put some requirements into those approvals that they need to do a little bit of extra survey and redesigning of some rear yard drainage along the east side of this subdivision that's up against the berm and the ditch that are over there to redirect runoff from the adjacent fields.
anybody have any questions for Tim?
Hey, Tim, Kirk here. I have a quick question about the map proposal.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that there's an annual subscription that we pay. It looks like to ESRI. Is that something that we're paying already for the map that we use currently, or is that an incremental cost?
No, we already are paying a similar fee every year. I want to say our past few years, our authorization for this has been $10,000, and the licensing fee has been, I think it was pretty well split. It was about $5,000 for the licensing and hosting agreements, and then the extra $5,000 we had as a time and expense to help develop any tools that the water department might want to get developed as part of their data collection or for training for them. We kept that number the same in this proposal. So instead of being 10,000, it's $11,799. So it went up about $1,800 as part of that migration to ArcGIS Online. So But as I
Okay,
understand
and-
it, Rich had that set aside in his budget for that $1,800 increase. And actually, in the past, I want to say over the past 3 years, out of that 5,000 that we had there for incremental, we've only used between 2,000 and 3,000 of it. So we haven't used the full amount. So my guess is we'll probably still end up pretty close to the previous year's $10,000 number.
Yeah.
a question.
Sorry, Randy.
Oh, go ahead.
Assuming we move forward with that, it sounds like we're going to, which I personally am in support of. I played around with the map a little bit. It's definitely a nice tool. I think it would be nice to try and see if we could put this on our website once we get it up and running. I imagine some members of the public would be able to take advantage of it, something that we haven't been able to offer in the past. So I think that'd be good.
Great. Randy,
any other questions for Tim?
I did have a question. I drove through Eagle Chase last week. I know you're talking about PIPs for the last phase. Some of those houses in the other phase, they're so high above the road. Is that to stay out of so they don't get flooded, or are we going to have a problem with some of these houses? It seems like they're like, if I'm guessing, they're maybe 2.5, 3 feet higher than the road.
I'm not sure about that one. I know GHD was on board when that phase went in, but the grading plan should still be as they are. That'll be something that we'd be looking at when they do the final storm calc sizing of this new storm line behind these lots. But we'll definitely look at it for the new phase. I don't know about the last phase.
Okay.
And I got one question, an engineering question, I guess I brought up earlier the last week or so about grinder tanks. It seemed like the town discouraged grinder tanks in new subdivisions, but the word discouraged wasn't a flat out, you cannot. So if a new subdivision came in with 20, 40, 100 homes in an area that needed grinder tanks, I think the town board wants to not discourage them, but we don't want, because it's a maintenance nightmare for our water sewer department to maintain these things. We've got almost 700 of them now. And I think we wanted to put some language in there that gravity is okay, but grinder tanks in huge amounts in new subdivisions, we are having a hard time accommodating them. Did I say that? I gotta throw this over to Rich Donner for a comment, but I didn't say anything I shouldn't have said. Did I, Rich?
No, Larry, we'd highly discourage any large amount of grinders being put in other than what has to be put in now because of the existing sewer mains that are out at the road. The biggest thing we're trying to get away from is those individual grinder tanks. But if they put a subdivision in that's too low, a pump station is what should be put in, not individual grinder tanks.
Okay, great. And somehow we have to move this along, and I'm not quite sure the process, whether it needs to go through our planning board or, how would we make this change? It would be a change to our local law?
Just a thought, because we are evaluating changes to solar, which I imagine is going to impact our code. Maybe this is something we look to add on.
It's something that we could. I know the planning board has several things that they're looking at proposing to make recommendations on revisions to as well. So I can add that onto the list, unless you want, this is something that is that needs to move faster than the other things. And I guess we can talk about it. Unfortunately, it still has to follow through like the similar type of process with seeker and public hearings. So sometimes it's better to group them to make sure you minimize the amount of times you have to do those hearings, but it'll depend on how quick
Well, I'd like to get it,
Wanna make it-
I would like to get it done this year. I don't want to be talking about this again next year. So,
Right. Well, I think I know definitely the planning board has draft motions together on theirs. And they just keep adding to the list. So we gotta make a stopping point at some point, stop adding to the list, and then we can make formal recommendations for that. It doesn't need to follow the same track as the solar law, because that's going to be obviously at least 6 months out. So this is something that I can bring up to them and put it on the list.
okay, thank you. Any other questions for Tim? I think Matt Brooks, we're ready for motions.
Okay, you can hear me again?
Yes,
Okay, first motion from Wendell to authorize the supervisor to sign Wendell's contract for providing town engineering and planning services for 2021.
I'll make that
So moved.
motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next,
Another motion from Wendell to authorize Wendell to provide GIS support services during 2021 in accordance with Wendell's proposal dated January 4th, 2021, a lump sum fee of $6,749 to be paid for WMA site hosting and ARCGIS online subscription, and a time and expense budget not to exceed $5,050 will be established for GIS GPS support and training tasks described in the proposal. Total authorization is for $11,799.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next motion, Matt?
Again, from Wendell, to authorize Wendell to provide stormwater management program assistance for the year 2021 in accordance with their proposal letter dated January 14th, 2021, for a time and expense estimated fee of $6,000.
You have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hear none. Motion passes. Next motion?
Again, from Wendell, motion that the Wheatfield Town Board, in accordance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act and acting as lead agency, hereby initiates a coordinated review for the proposed updates to the town local law on flood damage prevention, and authorizes the town engineer to prepare the required documents and mailings to the identified, involved, and interested agencies in order to receive comment on the lead agency designation and their proposed local law updates.
Need a motion?
So move.
So moved.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next motion, Matt?
Okay, again from Wendell, to approve the PIP applications for the construction of water lines, sanitary sewers, storm sewers, and pavement and curbs for phase 3 of the Eagle Chase subdivision. This phase will provide for a total of 20 single-family resident lots 6 through 25. The approval is made with the conditions as presented on the paperwork, as presented.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Who was the second?
I was.
Okay.
All in
Ready for the
favor?
next?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next motion, Matt.
Yes, from the town supervisor and town board to approve Connie D. Minor of Connie D. Minor and Co. Grant Consultants for the year 2021 and effective February 1st, 2021 to January 31st, 2022 for a professional services contract to be approved by the town attorney and signed by the supervisor down the line.
So moved.
I'll second on the question. Now, this past year, Connie was getting paid a monthly amount, basically. 2021 for this year, she gets paid by the hour, but it has to be approved by the town board is what I read in the contract. So if there's work for her to do for any departments or committees, you know, the town board has to approve that. I think she's working at $75 an hour. And there's an upper limit to how much she can make for that. I don't remember what it is. Do you know what it is, Matt? It's like 15,000 or something, or?
Yeah, I have it here. Let me pull it out here.
So she gets paid by the hour, but there's a limit to how much we're gonna pay her under this contract.
Yeah, it's not to exceed $12,000 for up to 160 hours of work.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yep,
Yes.
I moved it.
Okay,
I'll second.
Larry
Okay.
already did.
somebody have a question?
We already had a first and a second.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. The next motion, Matt?
Next motion from the town board to appoint Corey Wilson as an alternate member of the town of Wheatfield Planning Board for the remainder of 2021. Will be paid at a rate set by the town board for each meeting, which his attendance is necessary to fill in for an absence of a regular board member.
So
I'll make
moved.
the motion with a question. Is that, now, are we gonna have a substitute alternate after 3 missed meetings, or is this gonna be for one? I always thought it was like after 3 meetings.
Well, the way it worked and the way we did it last time, if we know that, if they know in advance that there's going to be an absence of a planning board meeting, the alternate is available to fill that. We've had cases where in the past where they've missed several meetings, but this is anticipated if there isn't anyone, it doesn't come, there's not a limit. You know, you don't have to miss a certain amount. This is, the planning board has on occasions been very short. The quorum is 3 people, and they've been times where they've had a meeting, they've only had 3, which makes any decision has to be unanimous, which can sometimes be difficult. So this is anticipated. If they know an absentee is going to happen, they call in Mr. Wilson to attend. There's no preset number.
Did we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next motion, Matt?
Again, from the town board to appoint Wade DeVentier to fill an unexpired vacant position of the town of Wheatfield Board of Assessment Review. The term is to expire September 30th, 2024.
I'll make that motion. We have a second?
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next motion, Matt?
Next motion presented by the town board. Whereas the town of Wheatfield by prior resolution supported the project, Wheatfield Veterans Memorial is prepared by the Wheatfield Veterans Memorial, Inc. And whereupon its presentation to the Niagara River Greenway Commission, certain comments was set forth by the Greenway Commission in consultation. And whereas one of the suggestions was to consider a connecting lane or trail from Wheatfield Veterans Memorial to the New York State Bike Route on Niagara Falls Boulevard. And whereas the Wheatfield Veterans Memorial is not a municipality and cannot construct a trail on municipal property on its own. And whereas the town, after due consideration, feels such a connection would benefit access to the town of Wheatfield Municipal Complex at 2800 Church Road. And Wheatfield Veterans Memorial specifically. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Wheatfield take the appropriate steps to commence a study for such lane or trail, and be it further that such study be presented to the appropriate town boards and town council and completed for its consideration.
Matt, I talked to Supervisor McSwan, and he mentioned something about $100,000 grant, but it must be, there's some money that's tied to this, but not exactly tied to this motion?
Well, this motion is not, as Supervisor McSwan explained to me, not to cost the town anything. This is, I think, the Greenway Commission, for them to commit the $100,000 towards the actual Veterans Memorial. They want us to consider the possibility of a bike path or connecting path to the boulevard. So this does not obligate us to do anything other than when the county comes up with some sort of funding to undertake a study. But it's not necessarily a study out of our pocket or out of our dollars. This was a resolution that the county legislature wanted to see us undertake before their meeting last Tuesday, where they actually, I think, awarded the funds to the town. So this is just, the Greenway Commission was concerned that we look at the possibility of connecting it to the Greenway Trail. And that's all that this obligates us to do, is to keep an open mind in the future and possibly study it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next motion, Matt?
Okay, the next motion on the agenda was one that I prepared and Wendell did too, was about their contract. So we're going to go to the one after that because the next one was already done. So the next one is from the town board and the budget department, that the town board does hereby approve and authorize the supervisor to sign the proposal letter dated December 1st, 2020 from Drescher and Malecki for audit services for the year ending December 31st, 2020 at a fee not to exceed $18,578, which is the same fee as 2019.
I'll make that
So
motion.
moved.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next motion?
The next motion is from the Highway Department to authorize the declaration of surplus property for the following items: a 1994 Mack tandem dump with plow equipment and a 1998 International single axle dump plow equipment and salt unit, and to authorize the Highway Department to place these items on Auctions International for sale as they are surplus, and thereafter, upon receipt of the bids for surplus items, the Highway Department will be required to request authorization from the town board to accept said bids if appropriate.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next motion, Matt?
Wait, Matt, before you move on to the next one, did you skip over one on purpose?
I think they said it was already done.
Yeah.
Oh, that was already done. Okay.
The one with regarding the Wendell contract, Wendell had it in their package, so we've already done it. It was a duplication, so we skipped one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Next one in line is from Water Sewer Department to approve and authorize the Water Sewer Department to purchase a 2021 Ford F-350 XL Crew Cab pickup truck from Van Bortle Ford for the amount of $35,082. The purchase is piggybacked off the DCMO BOCES bid number 2020-133 to be paid from the department's 2021 budget, split equally between water and sewer.
Do we have a motion?
So move.
Make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Next motion, Matt?
And the next motion listed is with regard to the solar moratorium. I put that in last week. I know we've already discussed in regards to the public hearing and the supervisor not being here that perhaps we would table this and wait for comments, as we said, rather than rush in and pass it tonight. So we will probably, as long as the board is an agreement, I would recommend it being held off until our next meeting.
Should we have a table motion or should we just not act on it?
We don't need to act on it. It's not really been formally presented by any board member, so we don't really need to table it. It's just something that can be on the agenda for the next board meeting if the board chooses to enact that moratorium.
Okay. Do we have any other motions?
No other motions tonight.
I didn't hear you. Matt, are there other motions?
Yeah. No further motions. I have nothing further.
Okay, we'll go to the board members, but before we do, Legislative Godfrey joined us tonight. If Dave, you.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Nice to see you.
Yes, good evening, everybody. First of all, before I have a little update, I have a couple of items that Legislator Gooch wanted me to pass on. In fact, one has to do with the Veterans Memorial there. He would like to thank the host community standing committee for all the help that they put into that to get that 100,000. That was the grant, for that memorial right there at the town hall. So we'd like to thank that host community standing committee for their commitment in backing that. In addition to that, he's been in contact with several residents at the Fairmont Park area, which is totally within his district there, bringing up complaints about the playground equipment, that it's old, it's very unsafe. And he's been hearing their complaints, he's been listening to them, but he wants everybody to know that he'll reach out and get a hold of Mike there at your town park department and set up a meeting so that they can take a look at that and hopefully do something to get that playground equipment in good shape and safe, come good weather. So he wanted me to pass those couple of items on to you. Wish you all a happy new year, obviously. He, by the way, is off to a Wheatfield Small Business Committee meeting. So that's got him tied up, but I said I would be on and pass along his couple of items. The other thing that I just want to bring up briefly here is I've been getting some calls, not only from Wheatfield, but some other areas all around the county, because it is tax time. And one of the things that people catch in their taxes is, gee, I didn't get the exemption I should have got. And one more specifically has come up a couple times is for our veterans. So I've reached out to find out just exactly where Niagara County is on what our limits are for our veterans. I haven't finished my research yet. I've been working with our veteran director, Jeff Glatz. I have found out that some of our neighboring areas are lower than we are. We are currently, according to Real Properties, John Shoemaker, under the 458-A veteran tax exemptions. Our wartime veterans cap is 18,000. Combat gets an additional 12,000 under exemption. A disabled veteran, our cap is 60. One of our neighboring counties, disabled is only 40. So we're a little better than some of the others around us. However, I'm not sure at this point what Erie County is doing. Mr. Shoemaker is going to reach out to them. I'd just like to do a comparison, find out where we are so that we make sure that here in Niagara County, we're taking care of all of our veterans, regardless whether it was peacetime or wartime, disabled or otherwise. So I just want everybody to know that if you are getting calls about specifically the tax exemptions, so feel free to give them my number. I'm here as a public servant, and I'll let them know where we're at. And one reminder, my wife, as a retired tax collector, says, make sure everybody realizes, whether it's veterans or not, that your request for exemptions for taxes must be in by March 1st. So if you haven't got one, or you got one, you believe that for this coming next year, that all of those requests for the exemption has to be in by March 1st. Is that correct, Kath?
Yes, it is.
Very good. Julie was correct. She keeps me on the right path.
Yes.
Kelly nodded her head yes too.
Exactly. So other than that, I'd be glad to take any questions if any on the board or otherwise there's a question. Okay, good. Well,
Thanks for
thank you.
joining us
Good
tonight,
evening,
Dave.
And we hope that Don gets back in the pocket pretty soon. Have a good evening.
Okay, moving on to board members, Gil Doucette.
I have some correspondence from Adams Fire Hall. They'd like to remove Timothy Steed from their roster. And they're replacing him, their board of directors, with Dave Duriat. And I'll make that motion.
I'll second Gil's motion, or Randy did. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else, Gil?
And I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Nothing.
She's been doing that.
Your volume on your speaker is a little funky, Gil, but we'll work on that for next meeting. Kurt Doctor.
Yeah, the Wheatfield enhancement volunteers are starting to acquire a good amount of beautification items, signs, things of that nature. So I'm working with Mike Rinaldi. Mike's trying to set aside a space for us to use because right now Rita and Tom Contact, who are on the phone and active with the volunteers, are using their own personal garage space, shed space, I believe, for some of our materials, and we'll look to correct that here quickly. So Mike, thank you for working with me on that. Secondly, the volunteers are also working on a mission statement for Niagara Falls Boulevard to be used as a tool by Mike Glock in his building department and code enforcement group, and also for future development that might be going on Niagara Falls Boulevard. And we're getting close, I think, to finalizing that mission. Mike, if you haven't seen it yet, I sent it along to your email, and I'd love your thoughts on that. And once we get it a little bit closer to final, I'll share it amongst this broader group. And that's it.
Thank you, Kurt. Randy Retzloff?
Yeah, I have a question. Save me a phone call tomorrow, but just to go back to what you talked about, the grinder pumps. Just maybe Rich, you or Tim can clarify this for me. I know we're talking about the northeast end of the town. They're proposing some housing. With that being said, so I know there's rock there, and that's why they want to go to grinder pumps. So they want to put in grinder pumps that we have to pay to maintain, and then a lift station that we also will have to pay and maintain because they don't want to bust rock. Is that's how I'm reading this?
I think how we have looked at this in the past, we hadn't actually had a situation where we've had to do it yet, but from my discussions with Rich, the point was to not allow any new individual grinder pumps at each house, but say a subdivision was in an area that they couldn't get to a gravity, that they would have to, they'd basically have their own gravity system that would come to their own pump station. So instead of everybody having an individual one, there'd be one big one for the whole subdivision. And then that would get pumped to the gravity sewer.
Whose lift station is that? Who pays for it and who maintains it?
Well, my understanding is the installation of it would be paid for by the project under the PIPs, but just like any of the other PIPs, I would assume that would get turned over to the town for operation and maintenance. Is that right, Rich?
Yeah, that's correct. When they put in Ashwood subdivision, that's how that was put in. There's a separate lift station for that whole subdivision area, and we did take over maintenance on that unit.
Okay.
Randy, also where they're proposing that up on the northeast end of the town, there is no gravity sewer up in that area. That is primarily all pressure sewer up there. The closest gravity system in that whole area is on Mapleton Road.
And it's all small diameter pressure sewer too. So I think there would be significant challenges to even design something with its own pump station to then actually be able to, to pump it somewhere. You know, that would have to be in easements or right away, new lines running right away to wherever a gravity sewer would be. So there might be just some geometric constraints to even being able to design something for something like that.
That's all I had. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Randy. Don's not here tonight. I announced that. I don't have any other additional items. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have one quick. So the bills I haven't signed yet. Are they set up somewhere at town hall? I can get down there.
They're in the mail room.
Okay, I'll get down there tonight.
Any other questions before the board before we entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Aye.
I think our next meeting will be Zoom, but thank everyone for attending tonight. Take care.